Hey guys, it's Angel and welcome back to the channel. We are here today at Orcas Island, my test grounds, to try out the Aermacchi MB-339 Alpha. Now I probably mispronounced that name, but as you can see before us, this is the jet. Not something I am hugely familiar with myself, but I'm going to do my best. You, the viewers, asked me to look at this aircraft and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to review it as a user, as a not too familiar person with jets, as a beginner to the market, shall we say, and this is a jet trainer, so where better to start? Of course, we know there's an F-15 coming out very soon, and I will certainly be reviewing that because that is a badass. But we'll do our best here. So, without further ado, the Aermacchi is a jet trainer, as I mentioned, made by Aermacchi, which is, I'm probably getting mispronounced, and it's the company Alina Aermacchi in Italy. Developed in the 70s as a trainer, and it is a single engine jet trainer, I should say. Originally built, I believe, if I'm looking at my details correctly here, it's subsonic, of course. It has a speed of just under Mach 1, range is 1700 nautical miles, and it, sorry, 950, I was looking at the kilometers list there. Max speed, of course, is around 898 kilometers an hour, which is about 485 knots. Can be armed with guns, mostly is though a trainer, of course, and it is powered by a single engine, which is a Rolls-Royce Viper Mark 632 turbojet. So without further ado, let's get in the cockpit. So this is made, of course, by India Foxtrot Echo, who developed the Long Easy and a bunch of other aircraft for P3D and Flight Sim. Those are more aircraft I'm familiar with. This I'm not. Now, even though I started this technically cold and dark, we appear to have some systems on, and not being hugely familiar with jet aircraft, I am going to do my best. Now, I had looked through the manual, and of course, normal flight instruments, armament panel, gear. I believe this is where our GPS is located, or our nav system for military purposes. Audio panel, we've got warnings. I believe this is my pilot seat, which is in op. Yep, that's seat height, that's something else. So fuel should all be over here. So technically, fuel is open. Okay, we're good there. That is our anti-skid system. We have our rudder yaw. What is that? Emergency gear handles. Again, I'm learning this with you. This is my first time in the aircraft, and I've often found jets to be one of the most confusing because they have to pack so much into such a small space. Which is why for new users to jets, they can look incredibly intimidating because there is so much crammed into a small place. Okay, so that's... okay, those are simply lights for those systems. Fair enough. Okay, that's battery on. Alternators on. The correct lights are on now. Now we should be able to go to engine start, I think. So master ignition on. Let's see if this works. Oh, hello. I love it when Flight Sim does this. There we go. Throttle is there for, said hold it there for 10%. And then come up to idle. Let's close the canopy, shall we? I believe we have spool up. So, performance is relatively okay. It's a little heavier on the system than a lot of G aircraft, but you'd expect that. I'm not sure I've got so much clicking going on, but we'll find out, of course. Ignition needs to stay on, of course. Fuel transfer should be neutral. I don't know what's causing the clicking. Okay, so it's my landing lights. There we go. Okay, all our systems are good to go here. We should have engine power. We do. So, it turns out it was easier to start than I imagined. We'll knock off our parking brake and we'll go for a spin. And spin's probably the operative word here because I'm not a jet pilot. So, we'll see how this goes. I know my approach speeds, my pattern speeds from the manual, That is included, of course, if you download this from Orbex, which is what I recommend personally. Links to the manual are simply there on the page of the installer. Updates are automatic through the Orbex client. Orbex Central, I get a lot of my stuff through that. They are fantastic. All their senior, of course, they have partner products for aircraft and other things. You can get the Iris Jabru, you can get all the Indy Foxtrot Echo products there. I believe that's probably where I'm going to get the F-15 from when it comes out, because I believe that's also... No, it's Dino Canaletto. So that's a DC Designs model, so that may not be on there. I'll find out, and you'll find it on the channel, of course, as always. Right, so without much further lip flapping, and me blithering on about jets and stumbling across my words, because as much as I want to try and prepare for this, I struggle, because I'm not a jet person. So we have, I believe, one setting of flaps down. Yes, we do. Oh, for some reason we had full flaps deployed. We definitely don't want that for takeoff. So we'll give it one notch of flaps. Let's test control surfaces. Okay, we're looking good, so we're going to get ourselves onto the runway. Let's just pretend we're out in the middle of the world testing. No one's around, nice and easy. Bring it out onto the runway. So, obviously with a jet, flameouts are an issue and angle of attack limits are a thing. And wow, those mirrors are incredibly reflective, which with Flight Sim 2020's lighting engine can mean they get incredibly blinding, incredibly fast. Looks pretty, kind of irritating to the eye. It hasn't got the scratched glass look, or nowhere near as strong a scratched glass look as their Long Easy had, which is good. Oh, canopy's not locked. I didn't do that, but I will do that once I get off the ground. Should be able to lift the nose up now. And we're clear of the runway. Nice, easy takeoff there. Trim out as we climb. Let's pull the throttle back a little bit. We don't want to go too crazy. Pull the flaps up. Trim out to compensate. So the trim wheel has a loud clicking to it, which means you know you're doing it. Okay. That is not bad. Where's that canopy latch? I could have sworn it was around here somewhere. Is that it? That'll be it, yes. That'll be our canopy latch. We weren't latched. Good start. Okay, so how does it handle? Incredibly light. Really light. The jet, of course, is aerobatic. It's used by the Aermacchi Tricolore, the French aerobatic team. Used by a lot of other nations as well, for trainers and aerobatic aircraft. Handling is light. Trim is nice and easy. The aircraft's performance in the air is good, I'd say. Good to average. Heavier than some, not as heavy as others. Does that sound fair? I think it does. So, full throttle performance, we should be able to get to 400-ish knots, 485 knots. So we're not going supersonic, but it's definitely enough. And right now, we're sitting up here at about... I think that's not 3,000 feet. That is lying. Where's my other indicator? Okay, we're at 13,000 feet. That would be much more appropriate. Yes. This can't be 13,000 feet. But it's not 3,000. It could be. I'm a weird person and things don't often make sense to me. This is 3,000 feet. Although the second handle has disappeared though. Yes, there we go. So, performance is great. Sim actual handling is nice. The trim is positive and responsive. The detailing of the textures is phenomenal. Looks amazing. I really like how the aircraft is presented. And I believe we should be realistically flying from the back cockpit in solo flight. But obviously we can represent being a trainee up here in the front cockpit. It can be flown from the front. I just believe typically flown from the rear. Flying over here over northern Washington. I will say it's incredibly responsive. Not a massive jet nerd, so I can't tell you whether this is accurate or not. Not trying to. But if you wanted something to be a first experience of jets in Flight Sim 2020, you could go further wrong. This is good. As a first real jet we've had in the sim, it's responsive, it flies like a jet, it handles like a jet, it's decent performance, looks great. Of course, price is around 30 Australian dollars, so roughly 18-19 pounds. Good value for money. A nice looking jet would be great to use with the carrier add-on, wouldn't it? Yeah, the hard deck simulations carrier system, so that'd be great. You can pretend you're in Top Gun, but not quite. So I'm going to just bring the power down and we're going to cruise around here and drop in towards the airfield. So let's bring our throttle down. Anti-skid system will be enabled for our landing. Not so familiar with jet instrumentation, which is kind of what's throwing me off. That's our angle of attack, I believe. I think this is speed, but I can't quite tell. Also, does this work? Oh god, hello. Oh, it's a gun sight. Right, so we can turn the gun sight on and off. That's a cool feature. I'll give them that. That is our gun sight. So yes, we could just simply disable that and have it off the actual canopy, which means we have much more visibility. Which is great if you're not planning to shoot at nothing, because guess what? It has no guns. Bring the aircraft down here. Reflections are decent, although a little bit blurry, being more flight sims issue than anything else. Texture fidelity is very high. I'm not seeing any discoloration in the textures compared to some aircraft I've seen recently, so they've definitely got the compression right, which is a good start. Okay. Bringing it down a bit slower. Now, one thing I couldn't find in the manual is, do I have spoilers? I don't think I do. That would be quite correct. I don't. So there's our parking brake, of course, as I learn the instruments whilst we're basically in the air. As you meant to, obviously. I mean, who'd ever take the time to be on the ground and do such a thing? Okay, there's Orcas Island. We'll swing around in a lazy high-altitude pattern and drop her in. Going for the jet racetrack pattern rather than a GA square. So as we're dropping down now, speed will be coming down for us, making for a better approach. We'll just let the nose sink down, maintain a pretty much constant speed. If only I knew how to read that airspeed indicator, which I'm pretty sure is the airspeed indicator. Knots, yes. So times 100, so we're at 15. So you're saying I'm doing 1500 knots. I don't believe you. That doesn't seem right. No. That does not seem right. Has it moved? I don't know if it's moved. You know what? I'll just go off feeling. It feels much safer to do that. So of course this is weapons control systems. We don't actually have any to really control. But I'm just going to press all the buttons because why not? Go on. Do something. Yay, buttons. Everything's still on the wing. Well, damn it. Let's disarm that. If you are a jet fan, you can go through all these systems all the time and find everything you'd want to do with it. It does actually include the actual aircraft manual, so it has full procedures included, full systems and startup checklists, so if you are looking for that in the aircraft, you can have it. Okay, we're looking good here. Getting a little heavy on the stick for me, so I'm just going to give it a little bit more trim. We've been on idle throttle this entire time, flight idle. Okay, swinging her around. Below gear speed now, so we'll drop the landing gear. And we'll give it a notch of flaps. Keep the airfield in sight. Let's keep our airspeed up a little bit now. Rolling around onto runway heading. Aircraft does start to get a little nose heavy and want to sink a little harder as it becomes draggier. There we go. Nicely onto runway heading. What are our camera options like in the aircraft? So we've got our overhead, we've got our regular IFR mode. Okay. I'm coming in under power. And I'm really coming in under power. Power, please. Thank you. Woo. The camera mode messed me up there in my head. I wasn't really looking at what I was doing. Managed to get some power in time. I had to go to full throttle there to save that. I was sinking more than I expected. And wow, without throttle it goes nose down. That's a heavy landing. Okay, yeah. Now it said approach speed should be about 115, which is we were just below that, so we were a little bit low. On approach, you have to keep an amount of throttle in there. That is something I definitely didn't realise it was so sensitive for. The aircraft really wants you to have power throughout the entire approach phase, so whilst you want to keep your speed low to the numbers it wants, once it got low, it didn't stall as much as would not pull up. So, with flaps deployed, with landing gear deployed, I could not pull back on the stick anymore. My stick was in a full backward position there. I couldn't get the nose to even react. Now, again, not being a jet expert, I'm sure someone could tell me why that is, but that is something to look out for if you're new to jets, is this one doesn't want to come back. It will not pull back. It's not like it will just give you a couple of extra feet of nose up, cover that extra little bit of distance and not hit as hard, not even flare and take in some ground effect. It simply was stick back. My nose is staying where it is. I had a hard landing there, which would have torn the gear off, possibly torn a wing off, rolled the aircraft on the runway. It would have been a crash landing. So, not my finest landing in an aircraft in flights in 2020, but an interesting thing to take note of. Keeping power on throughout the entire approach phase keeps the aircraft more controllable, so at idle, it is very much less controllable. And as you approach that minimum approach speed, that really should be as you're crossing the threshold for 115 rather than in the approach itself. So I was a little cautious with my approach there, not personally being able to read the airspeed indicator as well. I'm not familiar with it, so that would be why. Something to take note of. Overall conclusions is we'll take it back to the, somehow limp it back, I should say, to the pad. Despite my landing, I enjoy this aircraft. This is definitely something that could be fun to fly. Great to actually potter around it. If you like high-speed canyon runs, it will certainly fill a niche until more appropriate aircraft come out or other aircraft you may prefer. But is it worth the price? Do you want to fly a jet? This is a question you have to ask yourself. Me? I'm not sure, but that's a personal preference. If I had to fly a jet, this is a pretty nice one. And it's been made incredibly well, so... Thanks for watching. Pretend you didn't see that landing, and we'll see you next time. Bye!